Shri Pirbha Verma ji, very well-known poet and president of the N. Ramachandran Foundation, Shri Babu Divakaran ji, former minister, Mun Mantri, Shri T.P. Srinivasan ji, former ambassador. We only call former ambassador, otherwise you have been to so many countries. Once you have been appointed ambassador, all your life you are called ambassador.
Without countries.
Even the president of USA is always president. Shri P.P. James, Secretary, N. Ramachandran Foundation, Shrimati Sangeeta Madhu, member of the foundation and editor-in-chief Mahila Ratnam, Shrimati Lakshmi Ramachandran and Shrimati Lekha Ramachandran, and finally Shri Rajdeep Sardesai, who has been honored today with this award which has been instituted in the name of one of the most hallowed name in Kerala journalism. Piripetta Sahodri Sahodran Mare Elavarkum Ente Vandanam. Thank you very much for your kind invitation, and not only because this foundation is very important, it has been founded in the name of one of a major figure in journalism, editor for 50, 60 years?
How? 60 years.
60 years of Kalakaumudi. And then, as Rajdeep ji said, we know each other since long time, and it's a special occasion for me too, that you have invited me to give this award to Rajdeep ji through me. The office bearers of the Ramachandran Foundation, they deserve appreciation for deciding to confer this honor on Shri Rajdeep Sardesai, who has nearly 3 decades of journalistic experience in print and television. We all know that late Shri N. Ramachandran, in whose name this award is being given, was a veteran who continued to write for his paper Kalakaumudi almost, this again is important, almost till his last day. His profoundly scholarly articles often prodded policy makers to reconsider their decisions and help the public to make informed choices on critical issues. For him, the editorial was both the medium and the message. Rather, journalism for him was a source to strengthen our democracy. Late Shri Ramachandran was a versatile person whose services spanned over 6 decades, touching different areas, as just now our former minister gave the details, and so many areas: Public Service Commission, politics, trade unions, journalism, which earned him popularity as well as great public acceptance. He professed and practiced the unbiased journalism of those times, and his writings in Kalakaumudi stood apart with the remarkable sensitivity and social concern. If you allow me, I will depart from this written text, because T.P. Srinivasan ji, in his remarks, he tried to build a relationship of the diplomats and the journalists. I'm not saying link. You try comparisons are odious, so you try to see some relationship exists between the two. But I thought, as a former politician, that journalists now have become more alike politicians. They are more like politicians.
Yeah.
For a politician, you just recollect very famous many actions of the politicians who live in your neighborhood. Generally, it is said about country, my nation, right or wrong. For a politician, he transcends even nation. My party, right or wrong. We have so many examples. I won't give because that may create new controversy. Therefore, I will not give. But even above the national interest, my party, right or wrong. So, I think I should claim, as a former politician, that we are more close to now to the journalists than you as diplomat have been to them. So, this is not just about journalism. This is, times are changing, values are changing. But when we say that times are changing and values are changing, then we must not forget that even decades ago, first thing that we should keep in mind is that in each and every profession there are many people who are working, and no two individuals are alike. It is impossible for the two individuals to be having exactly the same attitude, same orientation, same kind of response. No, it is not possible. It is mostly individualistic. Pirkirti yanti bhutani. Each one does according to the natural disposition on which he or she has been created. So you can't, individuals, very good individuals, sometimes not good individuals, they may be in any profession, and everybody, if there is something wrong, then everybody cannot be, we can't use strong words for everybody belonging to that profession. But I was simply, it was unbelievable for me that in sometime in 1818, now we are in 20th century, this is 1875 or 76, famous American journalist John Swinton, he was with New York Times for a long period of time. He was also with the labor movement in USA. And when he had become very famous, then some media organization of New York City, they organized a function to felicitate him. And then some journalists, because that was the association of the journalists, raised a toast, and the words he used were independent press. To this raising of toast in the name of independent press, when John Swinton stood up, he said, and I am quoting him, these are not my words. He says, there is no such thing at this date of the world's history, and he is talking about America with robust democratic values. In America, there is no such thing as independent press. You know it and I know it. Why he is saying? Because everybody present in that meeting was a journalist. So he said, you know it, we can say anything to the outside world. But we should not indulge in self-deception. We know the secrets of the trade. There is nothing like independent press, he's saying sometime in 1875 or 76. And then he says, there is not one of you who dares to write your honest opinions. And if you did, you know beforehand that it would never appear in the print. I am paid weekly for keeping my honest opinion out of the paper. I am connected with. Others of you are paid similar salaries for similar things, and any of you who would be so foolish as to write honest opinions would be out on the streets looking for another job. If I allowed my honest opinions to appear in one issue of my paper, before 24 hours, my occupation would be gone. The business of the journalist is to destroy the truth. Very strong words. Business of the journalist is to destroy the truth, to lie outright, to pervert, to vilify, to fawn at the feet of mammon. By this he means the owners who own the establishment, and to sell his country and his race for his daily bread. You know it and I know it. And what folly is this, toasting an independent press? We are the tools and vessels of rich men behind the scenes. We are jumping jacks. They pull the strings and we dance. The last para I have deliberately not included in this speech because I thought it almost borders on using unparliamentary words. Therefore, I have not included that. But since I have given you name, John Swinton, you can go to the email, to the internet, and you will find it immediately. The last para I have deliberately excluded from this. So, the point I am making is, despite having quoted these strong words from John Swinton, I feel that no profession can be damned, everybody cannot be damned. But all kind of persons are there. I remember how this is, we used to hear when we were in the university, that when initially I came to Delhi as member of, I was in Delhi since my school days, but when I came as member of parliament in 1980, that the senior editors enjoyed such respect, rather commanded respect, that the owner of the establishment will never have the courage to summon the senior editors to his office. If he wanted to say something to the editor, he would go to the room of the editor. And later, this also happened with me. When I was Minister for Industry, then the owner of one very leading group, I won't name it, but possibly the number one group in the time. Owner, I was not aware. He had an appointment with me. He came before time. So, naturally, he was sitting in the waiting room. And then a reporter of that paper which this fellow owned, he came without appointment. And my private secretary, he did not take even 1 minute to usher him. When he first came to me, sir, वो निकलना नहीं चाहिए ना, I should not mention the name. So he has come. I said, has he an appointment? He does not have an appointment. I just came to check. I said, okay, fine. But the private secretary was so deferential to that he immediately brought him into my room. He had meeting, and the owner of the paper, who had an appointment, he was waiting he was sitting there in the waiting room. Then finally, what happened? The successor of the owner, he called every editor and he said that you will be editor political, you will be editor for cultural affairs, you will be editor for economic affairs, and I will be the managing editor. The whole structure of papers in Delhi has changed. Now, the writers are not the editors. The managers are the editors. Owners are the editors. And basically, the point which I want to make is that we are a very old, rich civilization, but unfortunately, we are not very familiar with our own heritage. There is a concept of Lakshman Rekha in our culture. Okay. There is a concept of Lakshman Rekha in our culture. Maryada. Maryada is the word which is used in Malayalam also. Maryada.
Yeah.
Maryada. Maryada is something called which is Maryada. What is Maryada? Maryada is where you voluntarily accept certain rules of behavior and conduct. Voluntarily. Obedience of the unenforceable. The rules and laws which cannot be, you can't use police to enforce those laws. One accepts those voluntarily. And in fact, in India, for most period of our history, even large part of during the British Empire and before that, it is a universal truth that the rural areas of India were generally outside the sphere of influence of the rulers who were sitting in big cities. Was there anarchy there? No. Was there lawlessness? No, except some regions or areas where government deliberately had created a situation to prompt lawlessness, like Chambal. Now you will be surprised to know that I have represented Kanpur parliamentary constituency, which is very close to Chambal. Chambal was the den center of the outlaws, dacoits, and the Britishers. The largest weapon market which they created was in Kanpur city. For whose convenience? So that people continue operating in the Chambal area. Kanpur even today has the largest weapons market in the country. Nowhere there so many shops were allowed by the government to be opened. And legal and illegal, all kind of weapons and the cartridges, the things which you use to fire from the gun. They are all available. So basically, we have to be conscious and we have to be aware that Maryada, the real civilized existence, comes when we have respect for the Maryada. Maryada is obeying what is unenforceable by anybody other than you. You voluntarily accept these rules of behavior, of conduct, and you respect them, you follow them. And somewhere in Bhagavad Gita, at one stage, when Arjun was desperate, in a crestfallen mood, then Bhagavan Krishna tells him, he says that your own self is your best friend and your own self is your worst enemy. Same self. It can become your best friend and it can become your worst enemy. How? If your senses are under control, then yourself is your best friend. And if you leave your senses totally free, which means you respect no maryada, then yourself becomes your worst enemy. And then in the next shlok he says that when it becomes your friend, it becomes your friend when it is under control. It becomes your enemy when it is not under control. And there is another verse which says, Dharmasya vidhayo neko yeve प्रोक्ता महर्षि भी स्वम स्वम विज्ञानम आश्रिते दमस्तेषाम परार्णयम, which means that so many of sages, so many of compilers of wisdom, they have given different opinions, which is the highest and the righteous code of conduct. But on one thing, everybody agrees, and that is that self-control is the best among all dharmas. Dharma is not being used here in the sense of religion. Dharma is righteousness, right conduct. I totally agree with Mr. Rajdeep Sardesai that Keralites have every right to feel proud of their own way of life in which there is no room for suspicion and distrust of anybody on the factors associated with birth or faith. And this question in my first year, soon after I assumed charge here as governor, I was visiting Calicut, and there in one of the well-known madrasa, a student who had come from Kashmir, who is studying there, he asked me this question. And for some time it had become viral on the YouTube. So many here might have seen it. He asked me this question. He said, why the situation is so different in Kerala from northern India, and why we can't have, and this student was from Kashmir, minded, not even from UP. He said, why can't we have the same atmosphere where there is no feeling of distrust and suspicion among the people? And my response was that start behaving like Keralites, then you will also become a society where nobody will distrust each other. And I went into big detail. I said, fortunately, even partition did not impact Keralites. Partition of the country. So I said, before 1947, assertion was made, on the basis of religion, we are different nations. Therefore, country should be partitioned. Country was partitioned. After partition, 25-30 years after the partition, we now don't have the courage to say that we are a different nation. Therefore, assertion was made, we have different community identity. Milli tashakhus. This was the term which was used during Shahbano agitation. Our identity is different from rest of the country. People, I would say, by 1986, people had started forgetting about the tragedy of partition. But 1986, the manner in which agitation was conducted and violent tone and tenor was used, for the simple reason that I differed with them. You have, under the Constitution, you have right to religion, under Article 25. This right, read carefully, this right is given to every individual, not to the communities, because the problem in a democracy, if you concede that right is given to a community, then in a community everybody is not of the same opinion. If there are 2 groups, 3 groups, and you accept one group's opinion as the authentic opinion of the community, then others, they may be in very small number, but their freedom of religion is being denied to them. So they did not have the courage in 1986 to say that now we are different nation. Therefore, we have different identity. And this payment of 176 rupees to a woman who has spent 30 years with this man, produced 5 children for him, cooked his food, she was thrown out without divorcing. And the CRPC provision said that if the woman is not in a position to keep her body and soul together after divorce, then she will, this is called allowance. This is not maintenance allowance, because no court could give her more than 500 rupees at that time. 176 rupees were given by the Supreme Court, and such an agitation was made. Sir, nothing here, everything is interconnected. Communalism in India, Rajdeep ji is married to a Bengali who in her own right is a very well-known journalist. Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore, when while accepting Nobel Prize, he said, like Swami Vivekananda, he said, I represent a civilization which tells us, Yastu Sarvani Bhutani Atmane Vanu Pashyati Sarva Bhuteshu Chatmanam Tato Na Viju Guptse. We believe that the same divinity dwells in you which dwells in me. Everybody. Therefore, if we have trained our mind to believe that the same divinity actuates everybody, then we are all spiritually connected. And one who has this belief, there is no room for him to nurse any aversion or hatred for anybody. Not just Indians, for anybody. This is our cultural heritage. When I try to, naturally, if I do things or say things which are repugnant to this, then some reaction will come. We have every right, if we want to describe it as communalism, okay, it is communalism, it is bad. But those who provoke it, in my opinion, they really need to reconsider that what kind of issues where they can justifiably raise this slogan that religion is in danger. In India, religion cannot be in danger. Why? Because India, again, Indian, if you want to call it religious heritage, okay. I consider it is cultural heritage. The cultural heritage is ekam sat vipra bahuda vadanti. That ultimately, that supreme spirit is one. But no mode of approach has been prescribed. आपको उत्तम सहज अवस्था, द्वितीय ध्यान धारणा, तृतीय प्रतिमा पूजा, होम यात्रा, चतुर्थे, you adopt any mode of approach which suits your genius. And It all depends on your striving, on your sincerity, on your devotion, and nobody can. In fact, Shankaracharya was asked that who is entitled to moksha? And he said, Purush Matra Sambandhi Bhi. Anybody and everybody who has human element in her or him is entitled to moksha, is entitled to liberation from human condition. Therefore, if there is no threat to nobody in the world should, as far as Indians are concerned, with this cultural heritage, this wisdom, here no religion or its adherents need to feel that there can be any threat to anybody. Even if there is one individual, he can be very safe and safely pursue whatever she or he believes in. Thank you very much. I think I have taken 4-5 minutes more than the time which was allotted to me. Nanne valle nanni. Valle nanni. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Jai Hind.